Some people don't shut down when they get hurt. They just turn the volume down. They still show up, they still function, they even still joke. But there's a part of them that stays slightly out of reach. And after a while, that distance doesn't feel intentional. It just feels normal. To everyone else, it looks like composure, like strength. But from the inside, it feels like something's still missing. Spike Spiegel lives like that, not because he chose detachment as a philosophy, but because caring once led to a tragic loss. His system learned that closeness has a price, so he stopped trying to put out the fire and built a wall big enough to where he doesn't have to feel the heat anymore. But walls don't just keep things out, they also keep you in. Spike's detachment didn't start as style, it started as survival. Julia, Vicious, the Syndicate, a life that required him to care deeply and punish them for it. When you lose everything that mattered in a single sequence of events, your nervous system doesn't forget, it adapts. Caring becomes the thing that destabilizes, so we learn to take the edge off before things can cut too deep. Not letting things all the way in, keeping reactions small, lowering the volume on everything. Not because we don't feel, but because feeling at full value once almost led to self-destruction. This is what insulation looks like from the inside. Not necessarily a choice that's made every day, but more like a background process that runs automatically. When someone gets too close, you feel the pull to step back. When a situation asks for emotional investment, the urge to keep things light kicks in. And it works. It keeps stability, functionality, and prevents being blindsided again. But insulation doesn't stay temporary. What starts out as protection eventually becomes a default setting. The distance that once kept us safe becomes separation. Eventually, you stop noticing the gap between you and everything else. Nothing quite reaches you anymore. Spike moves through the bebop like someone who's already left. He's present but not invested. He helps but doesn't fully commit. He jokes but doesn't really connect. This isn't emotional unavailability in the way people usually describe it. It's not about being distant because you don't know how to be close. It's about being distant because you know exactly what closeness costs, and you've decided the cost is too high. But distance doesn't eliminate pain, it just spreads it out. Instead of one catastrophic loss, you feel a small ache that lingers, but that ache is manageable. Catastrophe isn't, so you choose the ache, and after a while, you forget you're choosing it. It just becomes the way you feel all the time. When something protects you long enough, it stops feeling like protection, and it starts feeling like identity. Spike's laid-back detachment isn't a mask he puts on. It's a structure he built to survive, and then lived in it so long he forgot it was a structure. To everyone around him, he looks calm, unbothered, maybe even wise. Jet sees him as steady. Faye sees him as unreachable. Ed sees him as cool, and they're all right. But what they're seeing isn't composure, it's containment. Spike doesn't avoid long-term plans because he's carefree. He avoids them because planning the future requires believing in one. Belief requires investment, and investment is the thing that led to loss. So he stays in the present, not because the present is enough, but because it's the only place that feels manageable. He can't imagine the future, so he treats his current life like a movie he's just watching from the back row. When you're insulated, you start to find a strange comfort in being the only one who doesn't react. You start enjoying the view from behind the glass. You aren't in the scene. You're just adjusting the lighting on your own isolation until it looks like style. The calm becomes an aesthetic. The distance becomes who you are. And once it feels like who you are, you stop questioning it. You stop wondering if there's another way to be, because this way works. It keeps you moving. It keeps you from falling apart. And if it also keeps you from being fully present, well, that's just a trade-off. Spike uses humor as deflection, not because he's funny, but because humor keeps interactions light. He can participate without being fully present. He can connect without being close. He can be around people without ever truly being with them. And for a long time, that's enough. until you realize the coolness everyone is admiring is actually just the temperature of a room that's had the heater broken for years. What looks like strength might just be the refusal to feel the weight. Sometimes, being unbothered just means you stop letting anything matter enough to actually bother you. Sometimes calm means nothing is allowed to get loud. Spike exists in the gap between presence and absence, always close enough to function, but never close enough to commit. This is what emotional suspension looks like. You're there, but you aren't building anything. You're participating, but not investing. It's like moving forward without actually moving towards anything. Spike lives on the Bebop for years. He hunts bounties, he shares meals, he saves lives. But he never treats it like a home, because home requires a belief in staying, and staying requires a belief in the future that doesn't collapse the way the past did. He argues with Jet about bell peppers and beef, complaining there's no meat in it. The same empty meal every time. It's a safe conflict. He can be annoyed because being annoyed doesn't require real vulnerability. It's a way to simulate being part of a family without ever having to acknowledge that they are a family. He keeps one part of himself slightly withdrawn, just enough that when things end, he won't be surprised. Enough that when people leave, he won't be devastated. This is the cost of isolation that becomes identity, avoiding the catastrophic loss, but also missing the joy, trading the peaks and valleys for a flat gray horizon. Spike's final confrontation with Vicious isn't about revenge. It's about the only thing he's ever fully committed to, the past, the dream he's been living since the moment Julia died. He walks towards it knowing exactly what it cost, and he accepts it. Not because he wants to die, but because he never fully committed to being alive in the first place. He was just waiting for the movie to end so he could finally leave the theater. After a while, the quiet starts to feel like strength. It looks like composure from the outside. It looks like someone who has it together. Spike's calm wasn't wisdom. The isolation that kept him safe also kept him separate. By the time he noticed it, it already felt permanent. Sometimes distance isn't about not caring. It's about surviving the price of what caring once cost.